Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are with Astrology Victoria. My name is Dulcie, and I'm here with my co-host.
Tatiana. As usual, we're here to bring you awesome astrological updates. So, Dulcie, what in particular are we going to focus today or are sharing?
Yeah, so we have a new moon coming up on Wednesday on March 2nd. We have a new moon in Pisces. So we're going to take a look at that and look at all of the aspects that are associated with that as well.
Yes, this is a powerful new moon. And I don't know if you have felt, you started feeling already this transition into the Piscean realm. And well, if you are new to astrology, we always explain a little bit so you have a little bit of a context. And the Piscean realm is the realm where everything dissolves, everything merges back together. It's like a watercolor dissolving. And it dissolves basically everything it touches into immense compassion. It's like the ocean of everything. And because it's the ocean of everything, it's like water. It's hard to grasp. You can't really grab it. So it can be either very ecstatic if you allow yourself to surrender to the currents, or it can be very confusing if you just don't know where you're swimming, can't hold on to anything. So these are the archetypes coming in, floods and floods of spiritual energy, of compassion, of love, of anything that can open the heart or open even your higher centers, to the veil gets like removed and everything and anything is behind the veil. So that's going to be very prominent, and the new moon is going to set the tone for when the big stellium in Pisces come April is going to be like super active. So this new moon is a great time to set intentions of a cycle of connection to surrender to the flows of life. Maybe a great time to do a ritual around water and what water does, how water behaves. So it could be anything you could probably want to do with water, cleansing, swimming, moving like water, being in the element, the feminine element of water, the emotions. All of that would be very beautiful channelings of this energy to connect you to higher levels of consciousness. That's something that's going to be very prominent.
Yeah, so let's take a look at our chart for the new moon in Pisces.
Oh, and do you have the Pisces image as well?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Want to take a look at that first?
Yeah, since we're talking a little bit about Pisces.
There we go.
So Dulcie, say something about this image?
Created by Tatiana. So we see the two fish of the Pisces fish swimming in opposite directions. And the Pisces symbol of the fish often represents having kind of one foot in the material world and another foot in the spiritual world, being a little bit here and a little bit there, and not quite fully in either world. And it's just it's a clear image of water and depth and flowingness. So what would you like to say about this, Tatiana?
Well, it is kind of also the realms of the spirit of magic. It's the realms where everything gets dissolved. Again, like we said a little bit earlier, and there's this whales and dolphins and angels and fairies and whatnot. It's the realm of magic, if you believe in magic. And it is the spiritual realm where all thought forms or anything is just dissolved into absolute unconditional love. That is also the quintessential Piscean archetype, is this unconditional love of source energy, and that's that light in the center. It's the origin of everything that has no form necessarily. That's the Pisces, where everything comes back to the nothingness. And if you haven't watched our Pisces special video, where you can watch it in our channel. We have all the archetypes, very detailed energy. So with this in mind, this is what a lot of people might start feeling, like immense emotional activity, compassion for others, seeing all life forms. And I will tell a little story later about how this energy is already impacting my life in a very concrete way. So we would like also to hear stories around how you're dealing with this energy. So what's coming in for you? It could be very uplifting and beautiful and hopeful, but it can also be very deceiving, you know? So good time to stay very also grounded in yourself and allowing yourself to dream. It's both, right? It's allow yourself to dream. This is the realm of dreams. Yeah. Okay, so
something I found interesting was that this is a sign of a lack of boundaries. So there are no clear boundaries in the sign, where everything just melds into the other, and there's no distinction between this and that. And we have going on in the world the Russian invasion of Ukraine at this time. So the boundaries of one country are not being respected by another. So I just found this to be an interesting correlation during the Piscean time.
And there's every energy has its shadow aspects and its positive aspects. Pisces can also go into martyrdom as well. The martyr that dies or sacrifices themselves, you know, it's a very, it could be the victim, right? So there can be all kinds of archetypal energies playing out, and depending on how you elevate that to your level of awareness, that's the experience. And I don't know if you would like me to share a little bit of the experience I'm having, and that this energy will keep having an impact.
Definitely.
So when the sun entered Pisces a few days back, and it crossed my fourth house, the IC angle, and the fourth house representing home, family, you know, and opposing a big, you know, I have a big stellium in Virgo, and it's like opposing Saturn, this particular thing. And that's for my particular chart. What happened to me is that, I don't know if you remember my little kitty cat, Neptune, and his name is Neptune, which is very representative, is the ruler of Pisces. So you've seen my kitty cat in the videos. Right now, he is in the hospital. He got run by a car, and he lost a limb. He lost his little back leg, which has been a very traumatic experience at the same time, but has also opened beautiful things in my life. Not easy, but it's this surrender to a process that I can't control. It's a process that's beyond. So him losing his limb, there's this process for me to having to be there, caring for him at home, giving him that attention, love, and unconditional love. And my spiritual healer slash wonderful guide, Laura, told me that sometimes the animals, especially cats, will give themselves, will sacrifice karmically, or take on a karmic load for their owners, or like an illness. For example, a cat may get, with a patient that has cancer, may take on that, then they die and the person gets better, things like that. And so she did tell me that sometimes they take on things that us karmically don't want to live through, or just as pure unconditional love that they are. They don't have psychology, but they do have, they are souls, these animals. And then in taking that on, it's taking on, and I mean archetypally, that sacrifice. And at a more like mundane level, well, it's a cat, it's an animal, and it has basic instincts. But at a higher level of understanding, every being has a function. Nothing is disconnected. The cat has a function, the plants have functions. Everything has its perfect its perfect function within the whole. And this opens up that possibility of seeing the other completely as what they are. And in my personal life and household, what happened here is all the people in my household, suddenly this incident opened up everybody's hearts into immense compassion, support. There was grief, there was tears, there was all kinds of things moving through. And the knowingness that we're all kind of, that this little being is also part of our lives. It's not just a cat, or or a thing there. And this Piscean archetype brings into awareness that everything is divine, down to the tiniest little thing. And when we acknowledge that, we are really in connection with everything. So for my personal experience, as much as the pain is there, there's also this beautiful opportunity to get into that space of shared love. And for pet owners, you probably know how that is. These, like, animals are vulnerable. It's like children and animals are this vulnerable creatures that otherwise probably wouldn't be able to survive. Like a cat in the wild with 3 legs is its death sentence. And then here we are, humans that can actually also sacrifice part of our livelihood, which is my own sacrifice for the desire to control and have everything be perfect. Especially the perfect cat has 4 legs, the imperfect cat has 3. It challenges my Virgo desire for perfection. And I'm like, okay, can I ride with what is and make life perfect as is? Can you also see life as perfect wherever it is? And this is the challenge of that Virgo Pisces axis. The Virgo will want to know, structure, understand, manage concrete realities. And the Pisces says, let everything flow. Everything is what is. Can you do that? And now this is my lesson and how I am taking astrology and really taking it from a higher perspective, so this can be a beautiful experience and not a painful, frustrating, damaging experience. And this is my decision. So for you all out there, what do you align with when it comes to these things? What do you want to align with, and how do you want to experience these energies? And how do you choose? Because it could be confusing, it could be frustrating. Especially I have the sun, transiting sun opposing Saturn, also demanding some kind of adjustment, in the home life, and all my plans for all the things I wanted to do. And now you have to be present for this little being. I need to surrender. So that's that. So that's the story. So yeah, I wanted to just share that. And we'll be making also a music album called the Neptunes. I'm a musician, and that will be coming out soon as well to support little Neptune. So you'll be hearing that soon. We'll be sharing that. Okay, so that's the story. So if you have anything going on for you, what do you think? Give us your comments. Dulcie, let's move on.
All right. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that about your little kitty. I'm glad that he's okay in the long run. He's not more than that.
He'll come on camera next video.
Yeah.
We'll follow his little tripod evolution.
Okay, so here's the chart for the new moon in Pisces. It's happening at 12 degrees up of Pisces. And I'll just draw a little circle around the moon, the sun and the moon here. And it's conjunct Jupiter. So Jupiter's at 14 degrees Pisces. So Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. So Jupiter is very happy in its sign, able to do what it wants to do, which is grow and expand and give love to everybody and be compassionate to everybody and give gifts and help out. Jupiter is very capable in this sign. So the fact that the new moon is right next to Jupiter, I imagine Jupiter will give it that extra touch of positivity. And even if you're going through some sort of hardship like Tatiana just went through, there's going to be some sort of comfort along with that. So do you want to talk about the birthdays, Tatiana, of people that will be definitely impacted by this?
So this, of course, like everything, there's aspects that are positive and super big. Like we're gonna have the trines in particular. We're gonna have this energy trining the water signs, so Scorpio and Cancer. So anybody kind of born on and around, around between, let's say, June 29th and July 9th, October 30th to the 9th. So the Cancers and Scorpios that will have their sun on or around the 12th degree, 12th, 13th, 14th degree, of Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, the water signs, will probably feel that this is a flood of immense, compassionate energy that gives a boost to their identity, even the identity, because the sun represents our sense of self-identity, or what we truly love. I mean, how we exist is our ego self too, but it's how we exist in the world as the soul's desire to exist. So that if your birthday is on and around those dates, means that there's going to be a flood of this Piscean immense water, emotional, compassionate, big dreams coming true as well. Big dreams. Also, people with their rising signs or their risings around these degrees, the Pisces, Scorpio, or Cancer, if you have the rising there, you will have this energy, especially if you're a Pisces rising. This is going to be in your first house, like coming into your being yourself, like a renewal, like a spiritual renewal, a huge expansion of self and the divine in you. Huge alignment.
Yeah, while you're talking, I'm going to get Ren's book because I just wanted to read the Sun, Moon, Jupiter.
Beautiful. Okay, perfect. So yeah, in this expansion of big emotions, of connection, everything that is, people having, again, their rising might have a boost of a renewal of their sense of purpose and self. Because there is something bringing also with Jupiter, because we bring such expansion, like dreams are possible. Emotions get the most beautiful, compassionate, especially the moon with Jupiter is like the expansion of all emotions. And because it's a trine with people having this in Cancer or Capricorn as well, there could be beautiful insights, spiritual awakenings, massive awakenings of the higher centers. And you might get things in your life that come as beautiful opportunities to be in the spiritual places. So that's beautiful. The challenging aspects to this energy, this is where we need to be a little bit more cautious. And if you want to point to the Mutable Cross, which is people in Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius. So if you have planets, I mean, if you're born on and around March, September, December, or June, between the 29th of March, September, December, and June, and the 9th of course, the next month. So your birthday being around those dates, you might feel that this same energy could bring, again, like a certain type of adaptation needed. So it's not necessarily the easiest, because it could bring maybe delusional, depending also on what planets is touching in your chart, on what area of life. You could be maybe prone to the guru complex. That's one with Jupiter. Oh, I know I am Jesus, I have the truth, or something like that. Or going like a mushroom trip and be completely delusional. It could be also being duped. Maybe you bought into something that you think is the greatest thing and whatever, and boom, when the transit passes, you realize that, oh my God, what was I thinking of? You know?
You overextended yourself or gave too much, even, you were hoping to help out, but it was unappreciated or it was too much for you, something like that.
Yeah, all these things that are a little bit more on the challenging side. For example, in my case, it's an opposition, and the challenge is, yeah, balance the giving and caring for the little one with what I'm giving out in the world, and my sense of self, and and how I can exist. The idea is to balance that. And with the squares, the difficulty with people that have it in Sagittarius or Gemini is kind of like, it's it's needing to, it's almost like what you desire to do might be like, no, this is what life wants for you, and you're like, how can I adapt what life wants from me to what my desires for changeability, freedom, or and the guru complex is one that also is possible, with this square, especially if you have planets in Sagittarius. And I'm gonna speak for myself with with Neptune there. The sense that, oh, we have found the ultimate truth, and kind of put it out there for everyone to follow. It could be a dangerous, a slippery slope. So be very mindful of 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 when you're having your own spiritual awakenings, experiences, even mystical experiences, because this could bring about huge mystical experiences as well. Make them your own and stay very grounded. So for this particular cross, I would absolutely recommend no escapism at this time. And escapism can have many forms. It can be, of course, drugs, alcohol, drugs, psychedelics, weed, anything and everything, It could also be escapism by, just binging on Netflix series, or, anything that is a tendency to escape. I would just caution you to be very present in your daily life. This is a beautiful aspect to dream. So yes, go into dreams, go into meditation, accept what life is throwing at you as gifts, and be very grounded with it. Take your Saturn your Saturn function in your life, and if you can't do it, then associate with people that can give you a very clear perspective, that you can trust. Because these aspects could also, have like the people that take advantage of you, because you're being so kind, open, gentle, then poof, somebody comes and takes advantage of you. Or you could take advantage of people too, it's either way. So make sure to be in alignment with also people that can help you be realistic about things, because with Jupiter we tend to not be realistic at all. It's like, it's so big that everything's possible, but then the Saturn function helps us to, okay, be more, okay, how can this be realistic? So it's important to have that in mind, especially if you're in this cross. So that's the main Pisces theme. And also noting that the North Node, it's in a sextile with Neptune in Pisces at the same time this new moon is happening. So there is something about this spiritual renaissance that is really moving humanity forward. That is kind of also a evolutionary push of this cruise ship that we're on, that we're not deciding where it's going. Yeah, that's my take on this. Anything else around that, Dulcie?
I think when it comes to escapism, I don't necessarily want to tell people don't do it, but
Agreed.
maybe, yeah, I think I know where you're coming from, but maybe putting yourself in the right kind of environment, making sure you're safe,
Mhm.
um, making sure that you're aware that these tendencies might come up, and that
Mhm.
you're in the right kind of environment for it, and perhaps you can give yourself a limit to it. Maybe, if you want to spend the day watching Netflix, make sure that you are also getting other things done that need to be accomplished. And yeah. um,
Calling Saturn your buddy.
yeah,
Say,
incorporate
Saturn,
that a little
get with me here so I can put a limit to how much Netflix I'm.
bit. Yeah, because with Jupiter there, it is true, like Tatiana was saying, you're gonna just want to dive right in and get lost, and potentially give up all of your other responsibilities. That desire might be really present. And so, just reading from Ren's book. So Ren Butler wrote the Archetypal Universe, and it's a cookbook of a planets. So he combines 2 planets and as well as 3 planets. So the sun, moon combined with Jupiter gives, on the more positive side. So as Tatiana was saying, those with their sun trining the 12-ish degrees of Pisces might have
or
a more.
or any other personal planets there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Might have a more positive experience with it. So that could be passionate enthusiasm for life, a healthy inner and outer, oh, sorry, that was Mars, a positive and expansive nature, an outpouring vitality and enthusiasm, feelings of abundance and satisfaction, grand dramatic flair, and the joy of living. So that's more on the pleasanter side. If you have a square or an opposition, as we were just discussing, it might be a bit more challenging, and that could lead to tendencies toward arrogance and self-righteousness, attitudes of entitlement in many areas of life, and ongoing excesses. So there's that lack of boundaries coming up again. That's potentially not as helpful. So
Yeah. And with the conjunction, it could go either way, right? If you have your sun in Pisces or planets in Pisces, it really can go either way, because the energy, your natural energy, is just going to be amplified. And
mhm,
whatever you are amplifying, it's the outcome. So it could be huge amplification of your sense of self, purpose, life, huge mystical experiences, and that could be a beautiful experience. So with the conjunction, it can kind of go either way, you know.
yeah.
Mhm.
And okay, so this new moon, we see a lot of conjunctions. We see Venus, Mars, Pluto very much right beside each other. We see Saturn and Mercury here in Aquarius conjunct. And then, as we just discussed, we have the Sun, Moon, and Jupiter conjunct. There are a few sextiles as well. So it's, as we've discussed in prior videos, that's a helpful energy. Um, it's not contentious like a square or an opposition. It's more just a small boost of helpfulness. But let's discuss these conjunctions. So what would you like to talk about first? The Mercury-Saturn conjunction or Venus-Mars-Pluto?
I think Venus, Mars, Pluto is the prominent one, because it's kind of coming as as it goes through the last degrees of Capricorn, and it's a very powerful conjunction as well. So I'd like to just touch on that. And basically Venus, Mars, and we've been talking about Venus, Mars in our previous videos as well, and because they're traveling together for a while, and it's this balance of the feminine masculine principles of the action, the doer and the receiver. It's what do I go get. In Capricorn is also goals and commitments, and what do I want to achieve. There's achievements. It's also power and structures of power, especially when Pluto comes in. There is this, then it's the shadow side of power as well. And societal constructs of pyramidal structures where the top to bottom. So all of that, we've been talking about how Capricorn themes are going to be very highlighted. So Venus and Mars in themselves have this kind of balance between give and take, action and allowing things to come to you. When Pluto comes in the mix, and Venus, Mars also represent essentially relationships, because Venus, the planet of relationship, is deeply involved in here with Mars. So the relation aspects, or social, it could be social aspects, or even relationships, you know, with close people that you love. It could be your close one, your, you know, either it could be very close associations, friends, women, it could be, or just lovers. It's not only limited to love relationships. What happens with Pluto when it comes into contact with these planets? It's that it adds that level of obsession, power, shadow. So basically Pluto is, can we look at the shadow side of our relationships and our power dynamics? Can we look at that? Can we transcend that and compose that and release what is really festering? So Pluto brings it up so it can be seen. So the positive side is the capacity to transform relationships at this moment in time is huge, whether it's a personal relationship or some kind of dynamic, power dynamic. There is a composting process going on, dying to some kind of form of power structure. And it could be seen either in our governments or with our bosses or with people in our lives that are, you know, so there could be lots of power struggles. That's also one aspect. There could be the shadow side of this conjunction is obsessions, sexual, you know, obsessions. There could be lots of lust, you know, that lusty energy that's like dungeon like. I always tend to think of, you know, like a sex dungeon energy. And it's like the dungeons open, you know, it's like and like suddenly we see the dungeons, like, oh my God, does this exist? This could also be present in exposing, for example, the very difficult themes around sex trafficking, for instance. That could be one of the expressions of this. Is like we open these dungeons. So it's our personal dungeons and collective dungeons, especially in the structures of power and people in power. So we might see that as a very low expression of the energy. And as a high expression of the energy, there could be immense capacity for sexual healing, for transforming relationships from the depths, you know, not like, hi, I love you. No, it's like, let's see each other in our deepest, darkest selves. And how can we take this and transform it? So very excellent time for couples therapy, actual therapeutic, and hopefully something that is cathartic in nature, not talking nature, but the body, cathartic, you know, that can bring that plutonic element to the surface. So these things can be released, healed, and then more loving relationships that are going to be supported by the North Node in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. So you see the North Node is directly trining this nice triad. So this trine is supporting that, you know, using the body, you know, Taurus, using this as a vehicle of sensuality. So yes, Venus, Mars, Pluto also speak of deep tissue, deep, you know, like deep sensual. It's deep and it can be very healing. So that's like at its best, also transforming the structures that will bring about more sustainability, which is Taurus, resources, body, nature. So there's all these themes could be potentially arising. Dulcie, what do you have to say about this in complement of this intensity? Oh, it's intense.
So, okay, a few different things. So if we're combining just Pluto and Venus, we would get things like intense feelings of love and attraction, topics of power dynamics in relationships, potentially recognizing the power of manipulation and gaslighting, or giving your partner the cold shoulder. These kinds of topics might become present and part of your awareness. And as well, an appreciation of taboo topics. So that's where the dungeon, the sexual dungeon, might come into play.
It can be a dungeon. It
Yeah,
could be a dungeon.
all good. Whatever floats your
I mean,
boat.
sexuality is not like bad. It's just giving sexuality up, you know, exposing sexuality is not a bad thing. It's also saying, hey, this is part of our sacred nature. That's part of it too, sexual healing or sacred sexual temple style healing.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then for Mars Pluto, there is a desire for power often. That Mars, that desire, that action, and Pluto of power. So desire for power and taking action to achieve it. Aggression, violence, disturbing the peace, catastrophic events, a tendency towards fighting, an intolerance of limitations, and having the energy and the ability to make big changes. So that's kind of more positive side of it, that last part. And then if we're combining all three, we have potentially something that needs to be destroyed or decomposed and composted and recreated before any type of collaboration or diplomacy can take place. So we need to kind of go through the composting before we see any results. Potentially forced cooperation, like, two sides that don't want to work together, or multiple sides that don't want to work together, but there's something that pressing that needs to be dealt with, and so we're gonna get it done. We're gonna work together for that. So power dynamics becoming clear and relevant, and popping up as themes that need to be addressed, and having intense desires and drives. As we can see, both the kind of as Achita Baba was saying in his video of Pluto and Mars, once Venus and Mars move into Aquarius, he says that the air sign where Saturn is present, it might symbolize cooler heads prevailing. And this was in reference to the Ukraine, Russian invasion of Ukraine. So right now we have the Mars Pluto aggression, and as they move into Aquarius, he was hopefully speaking about cooler heads prevailing. But as we look at Aquarius now, the cooler heads, as in Saturn and Mercury, the logical one, they are in aversion, in Hellenistic terms, they are in aversion to Pluto, Mars, and Venus, all planets relating to instinctual desires. So these planets are not communicating at this time. So we'll be seeing more instinctual desires and drives, and our rational thinking might be coming later. It's not the first part that pops up. So these desires and drives could potentially be misguided. We're not really aware of whether they are reasonable or not. We're not quite thinking rationally yet. Or if we do have rational thoughts, we're disregarding them at this time. So yeah, just we'll be seeing those kinds of desires and drives for power and potentially, forgetting to use our rational mind.
And Venus coming in the mix also softens this primal Spartan desire. It's so primal. Venus comes in almost to soften it, because Venus is the grace function, it's grace, literally grace. So it does come with some diplomacy. So we might see, Venus's presence in this triad helps with the graceful aspect, so and the kind of the love and the sensual, Venus brings to this primal kind of pillage rape energy, which is this Mars Pluto, and comes with the sensual aspect. It softens it. It can bring it a lot of sensuality to relationships or to dynamics, and whatever that means for you in your personal life. In Rand's book, we have the Venus, Mars, Pluto as a hot-blooded and primal nature, a potential for profound romantic and sexual healing, which we mentioned, ongoing efforts to balance one's yin and yang energy, dynamic creative work. So you see in its best expression, that's something very positive that can bring huge advancements. In the less positive aspects, we have a tendency to our obsessive attractions, and this is when you can attract into your life like a narcissist, for instance, something like that could be very toxic. An overly brutal or domineering approach to sex and relationships. Again, this is a very kind of rape pillage energy archetypally. Romantic and sexual power trips, deliberately coarse manners, perinatal themes contaminating the sexual experience. So when there's something beautiful, then something raw and brutal could come along. All of these things appear in our society, in our lives, just to show us what needs to be released, what no longer serves, that we can let die, so we can create those new structures based on more love, more compassion. So for example, Tantra, the energetic experience is about elevating, is about grounding the root, so you can elevate the energy through the heart, and that's where we see the Pisces, and through the heart into the higher center, so the energy can circulate. So these practices, for instance, could be very well welcome for those who want to learn about how to have a sexual, sensual experience based on something divine, on just primal energy, not used for killing and or whatever, but primal energy used for creativity, for immense creativity. This is the most creative force we can have. Pluto and Mars and Venus is like, so it could be the birth of fabulous art. It could be, especially having that's kind of still sextile to Neptune, like it's not a quite really there, but we will have, there's still like a little bit of that lagging of that Piscean energy and the trine to the North Node, which is like, how can we take this energy and make it about this, about the body, about the senses, about the love of the body as well, the love and the healing of the physical vessel, and if we take these archetypes and internally use them for internal healing, what happens is we also help to heal the collective energies. And right now, the collective energies are a little bit out of control, with the war almost happening and all of these things is out of control. So how can we take responsibility for our own inner healings of those themes? That is big. And because this is a new moon, this is a seed that we plant for the themes of the month to be developed. And with consciousness and awareness of how we place our energy, this could be very positive. People with placements in the earth house, in the earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, will most likely have a very positive experience of this, or these energies are providing, providing movement forward and a lot of healing in relationships. And also depending what area of life this is in your chart, you will speak particularly at that area of your particular chart. Conversely, people with the squares to these energies, which is like the Cancer, the opposition of the squares, Cancer, Libra, and Aries, again around those degrees, which is about people born around the 16th of January, July, October, or April, will feel this energy as possibly more challenging. So this is when the awareness of how can I take this energy and not act from that primal impulse to just, but really, what is this asking of me that I need to release and improve and move through in relationships. And it could be sometimes painful because when Pluto's involved, there's always some kind of needing to detach from something, needing to really, really let go. And letting go can be painful. So especially patterns could be very painful. And if we don't let them go and we keep attaching to those patterns, well, they're going to go anyway. And it could be very painful. So cooperating with Pluto, it's the best way to go. This is kind of how I see this thing. Dulcie, anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. I think we touched on the main points that we wanted to.
Yeah.
And
the last thing is just we have that conjunction of Saturn Mercury, which could mean many, many things, like needing to have a clear, disciplined mind. That's like at its best is, what are the best choices that we can make and think. But it could also mean like that the freedom of expression is completely suppressed, or that we feel that we can't express ourselves, or something is preventing us from expression. So that's like at its lowest level, this feeling that blocked. I want to say something, it's not heard. Or that our thoughts also are like pessimistic thoughts. Saturn could put a damper on the thoughts, and make it very like a dark cloud of thoughts, of like, no, repressive, or even repressing of like, I want to be free in my thinking and I can't, or I'm not good enough. My thoughts or my words are not worthy of being heard, or I'm afraid of saying what I think. All of these things could be possible with that conjunction. And like Dulcie said, because these energies not talking to the other neighboring energies, really, it's like, how can we stay more in the heart, in the Piscean realms, while processing these more primal energies and doing it with consciousness, because Saturn definitely asks Mercury also to be responsible with thought. That's the best way we can put Saturn is what are you thinking? What thoughts are you giving power to? That's part of Saturn's, what's your mind creating? And Saturn will give you a box. That's and the need for responsibility around your words, because when you say something, you cannot unsay it. Once it's said, it's out there. So also be mindful. What are you communicating and how? This will be big, because Saturn, whatever you say, and with Saturn, it stays, it's long term. So this is not the time for impulsive, be sure what you're going to say and why you're saying it. This is a great time for coming into this balance with this Piscean energy and making sure before you speak that you really know what you're going to say. This is the best, let's say, expression of Saturn Mercury. Is okay, I'll think before blurting out whatever. What would you like to say about this, Dulcie?
It's funny that you're saying all of that. The quote that came to mind was if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Or if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Which they said a lot in the Bambi movie, which I thought was really cute. I think it was the little skunk, maybe. Or the rabbit. I can't remember which one. Anyways, a few things that I wrote down were things like depressing news, fun times ahead. Negative self-talk, like you said, realistic thinking, but also pessimistic thinking. I remember learning in psychology, often people who get depressed are people who think realistically, which is kind of depressing to think. Like, if you think realistically, you're recognizing the negative things that happen in the world. Like, not everything is sunshine and roses, and so realistic and pessimistic thinking can sometimes come with Saturn, Mercury, but just recognize that these are, these thoughts don't need to linger forever. They're not always going to be there. And obviously there are wonderful things that happen in our lives. There's the possibility of us versus them talk. Saturn likes to kind of separate things and distinguish things as being different. It could be helpful for writing essays if you're writing more scientific papers, or just clear, concise writing. Yeah. I thought of messages without emojis. So people send you a message and you don't know like what the intention is behind it. Are they laughing or are they depressed? Like, what? How do I interpret this? So Saturn kind of gives that flat tone.
Well, I guess Piscean energy, we're just going to have tons of little heart emojis.
Leaning towards caution, so being cautious regarding one's speech or thought, or even action as well. Critical thinking and speech, and the identification of flaws. So it could be good for editing a paper as well. You'll recognize where all the flaws are, what need to be changed. Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, that in Aquarius, we also see all this like hard science. So at this moment, there could be a time where scientists are really looking at hard science with a more cold mind. Mercury in Aquarius has this kind of coldness around it. And with Saturn, there's even more coldness around it.
Yeah.
There's no flower around it. There's no poetry around Mercury, Saturn, Aquarius. It's like, okay, let's look at the data. We want to look at the data, and the data might eventually show, or prove in the long run, Saturn, to be more concrete, more accurate, and stuff like that. So it's a positive aspect for that kind of endeavor. If people are taking on, for example, doing certain surveys or studies that are scientific in nature, it's a good thing. The mind is really present to that, focused, kind of a cold approach, cold hard science, which could help in whatever the processes we're going through, So if this is you, then take this energy as sit down to study and write and think of numbers.
And have fun with that.
And have fun with that, even though with Saturn, it's not always the most fun, but it could be very rewarding. This is the time where you could be writing that paper or that essay or that thing that later gets published and you get recognition for freaking ever. So this is a great time for that too. You see, so it's not all bad. Saturn is not bad. I don't know why he gets such a bad rep. I like Saturn. Saturn makes us be more responsible about, and have integrity. So kudos and yay to Saturn. So anyway, I think this is our completion for a new moon. So
Mhm.
make sure to do your rituals with all this information. Where are you at? Please leave us comments if you're having any kind of thing uh, or going on in your life. You can prepare with this so you know what to expect. You can make your rituals. You can do your own personal, as usually, introspection, and use this new moon energy for the best of it. All energies are archetypal and they all go in many different expressions. So you choose your expression. What are you choosing and how do you choose to align with these energies and make it intentional? You know, for,
New new moons are great times to begin things. So that's a good idea to get those intentions down and plant that seed, so to
yeah,
speak, of what you'd like to happen. Yeah.
exactly. So with this, please feel free to share, like, subscribe if you feel this is useful, this content that we put together. Also, if you would like reading, there's information below if you want a reading for yourself, if you want to understand more about your birth chart and how these energies play for you. Make sure to click the links below, and we will have also we'll be having astro chats and astro talks. um, so stay tuned for our offerings. All the information is below, so you can keep following what we are building in this community. So thank you, Dulcie, for this awesomeness.
Thank you. Yeah, always a pleasure. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Feel free to join us on Facebook, Instagram, Meetup, and we will update you with any events that we have, like the Astro Chats and the Astro Talks that we were talking about. Those are all online at the moment, so feel free to join from wherever you are. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.